Hello everyone, Dr. Ben Manning here, making another video for our HashMap Data Science Lab series. Today I want to talk about an up-and-coming data warehouse that's super hot right now, and it's called Snowflake. And if you've been around data engineering or data science and not been living under a rock for about the past 3 years, you'll know that Snowflake is sort of where it's at right now in the data warehouse field. Now, I'm not a data engineer by profession whatsoever. I think I dabble in enough of that stuff to be dangerous, but data science being my space, I absolutely have to interface often with other tools like Snowflake that make up sort of part of the ETL pipeline. So I wanted to make a video on a problem that I run into quite often, and it's how to get data into Snowflake. And like I said, I'm not a data engineer, right? So what I run into a lot in data science is CSV files or clients with data out in things like MySQL or other types of more traditional structured relational database systems, and they're wanting to migrate maybe from on-prem out to sort of new sexy cloud-based offerings like Snowflake. So one of the things we often run into is, in a simple way, is just, hey, I've got 1,000 CSV files that I've exported from somewhere, or this is what I've been using forever in my on-prem exercises. How do I get this stuff into Snowflake? And I am building this as part of a two-part series where I'm going to be doing some analysis and pair Snowflake up as part of an ETL pipeline with Azure Databricks. So I needed to get the data into Snowflake anyway. This data actually came out of a MySQL database. You might ask yourself, well, hell, Ben, why didn't you just use it in MySQL if you're going to be using something like Databricks and use a typical RDBMS connector? And I could have, but then we wouldn't have this great opportunity to build this video. So anyway, just a quick reminder before I get to rambling too much. Please reach out and visit our blog at hashmapinc.com/blog. We're putting a lot of great content out there. We'd love to hear your feedback on some of it. Obviously, you're going to be seeing this from our YouTube channel, which is growing by leaps and bounds. Please do subscribe. We're using all of our efforts and all of our internal resources to really grow a lot of these channels, for some social good and from an educational standpoint. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your feedback on what we're doing right and on what we can do better. So please don't hesitate to give us that type of feedback. So I'm going to start here just with 3 different resources. I've got the Snowflake documentation window open, just docs.snowflake.net. I've got the SnowSQL documentation window open, which is the CLI, command line interface client for Snowflake. And I've got the actual Snowflake web UI open as well. I'm going to be going back and forth between some of these things as I go through this small exercise. So I hope to keep this under 10 minutes. That way it's not going to burn you out too much, but we'll get there as soon as we can. So we're going to need a few things in order to make this happen. If you're trying to replicate this on your end, on your local machine, at a minimum, this is what you're going to need to do this type of exercise. You're going to need one of the databases. You're going to create your own. I just used the test DB that we had in our account. Nothing special here. I went out and created my own table in our own test DB, and I set up what that table should look like based on what my structure of my CSV file those needs are. Okay, now I could have done all that, and obviously in SQL from the command line. It's out there. There's a really nice table wizard inside of Snowflake. All of your data structures and information are right there in the wizard. So unless you've got, a massive capacity where you need to stream this stuff in, or build it on the fly, or when decisions are made or triggers are actually adjusted, then keep it simple, right? You're learning how to do this. Build yourself a small table, make it reflect what your CSV file is, and you'll be good to go. So that's sort of the first big thing that you'll need. Second to this, generally you'll need some type of file format set up. If you don't have a CSV file format already set up, you can go in, create a new one. You can see that Snowflake will allow you to do CSV, JSON, XML, Avro, Parquet, ORC. There's a host of them here. And you can set up your own schema name. We've got a couple of these that are set up from other projects, and obviously there's a public one that anybody can use. A lot of this stuff can be kind of set as default just based on what your projects are, but I've just gone in and set up my own public CSV, so it'll know what's going on as far as imports concerned. Everything else is centered around this last piece, and this is called a stage. So Snowflake being cloud-based needs a separate staging area for your data to sit in before it actually ingests that into a table. Now, we're not opening a data warehouse. I'm not doing any transformation or any of that complicated stuff at this point. All I'm doing is just sucking data into a table so I can use it later and access it from a Databricks notebook. And I may even test it in Jupyter before I even go that far. But your files have to sit, your data has to sit in a staging area somewhere before you can be ingested into a Snowflake table. Now, these staging areas can be named, they can be custom, they can be Snowflake stages themselves, little areas that the data is sitting in, or if you have access to S3 or an Azure storage, you can use either of those for staging areas as well, to hold your data and then ingest it right into a table. I've made my own named Snowflake staging area, so I can actually just put my CSV file directly from my machine into the staging area because I don't have it uploaded to S3 or to any type of an Azure storage whatsoever. So those are sort of the things you'll need to get started here. Last but not least, you're going to need a way to actually interface with this, right? Now, if you've ever done anything with Amazon Web Services, you're very familiar with the CLI, the command line interface in Amazon Web Services. Most of your cloud-based systems have some type of command line interface or some type of method for you to get information from your machine through a virtual process that is secure to the cloud without having to go through the web interface, right? So Snowflake is no different. They do have their own command line interface where you can actually go in and use much of the structure of SQL to do most of your work in Snowflake. You don't have to use what's called SnowSQL or the CLI, the SnowSQL CLI client to do that. There are some worksheets here directly in the web UI where you can actually go in, select the database that you want to use, and then start doing different things on it, like we're going to be doing. I'm not going to use the worksheet for the purposes of this particular exercise because I really want you to see what this looks like on SnowSQL client. So I've got this installed on my local machine. Here it is. I'll bring it up. And I've already logged into it. And I've already told it to use the test database. I'll replicate that again. You can see as I type in use here, because I'm already in SnowSQL, it's actually already built around my account. So I want to use this test DB. Now, something you're going to run into the first time you use this, you're going to want to hit enter. Don't forget, this is SQL. So you've got to have this delimiter at the end of this before it goes to the next line. And it tells you the statement's been executed successfully. Everything is good to go. And I'm ready now to put my file into the staging area. Now, in order to do this, you need to know two things. Obviously, you need to know the name of your CSV file, or if all of the extensions are the same on your CSV file, so you can do like a wildcard ingestion or a bulk loading. I've just got one big CSV file. It's about a 50 megabyte CSV file that I want to put in. You need to know where that's located, or you need to start the CLI from that location. So that's what I've done. I've got the CLI has actually been started from that root folder. So my CSV file is actually just kind of sitting in the background, if you will, just waiting to be pulled in. So all I've got to do here is actually go in, type put, and again, this is in the documentation for Snowflake. And rather than now having to type an entire directory structure, all I have to do, because I'm in that folder already, is actually type the name of my CSV file. And then the last thing I need to type is where it's going to be staged. And my staging area was called credit. So now I'm going to hit enter. Snowflake's going to get the information from the CLI. It's going to do its best to put that out there. That looked like it ran really fast, and I'll tell you why, because it's already sitting out there. That I went back and checked, and that CSV file was not 49 megabytes; it's 89 megabytes, but it's already out there. So generally you'll get a little small indicator showing you that it's being uploaded, so you don't have to sit and wonder if that's actually happening or not. So last but not least, we need to copy this information from the table, from the staged table, into our actual DB table. Now that's really easy. We have this copy command, which is really cool, into credit. Remember, I've already told it what DB to use, so it knows I'm using that test underscore DB. So it's looking for a table into that, and then just from whatever stage I actually have holding my data. So there it goes, copy executed. Again, with 0 files processed because it's already in there. I can do, I think it's list, just to verify. So there's my actual ps underscore data underscore log csv.gz file sitting out there right now. So last but not least, if you really wanted to validate that that your data is sitting in the table, you could go out to the Snowflake web UI and take a look at that. But why not? Let's just run a quick select star from credit, and it'll run forever because it's a really big file, really big table. But this will give you an idea of what's going on there. So, and you can see there it goes. So we've got a ton of information there, a ton of information in this particular video. I did go over 10 minutes, but hopefully you got a lot out of this. So that data is now sitting out in an actual Snowflake table. So the next thing I can do, and this is coming in video 2, is I'm going to use Databricks, and I'm not going to use something super sexy like Scala. I'm going to use a Databricks notebook, probably the Python connector, to actually tie into Snowflake, tie into this DB, tie into this table, and pull that data into a Databricks notebook, and then probably into a Pandas data frame, so I can begin to do what I need to do as far as data science is concerned. I'll use Databricks, obviously, sitting on top of a Spark cluster to do most of my analysis and definitely most of my my training and testing of my models. So look for that in the next video. Hopefully this has been really useful for you. If I made any mistakes, don't hesitate to let me know. Let me know in the comments. We're all lifelong learners in this awesome expanding area, and I want to know. So I'm always up for being efficient and finding different ways to improve. So be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your time today, and look forward to seeing all of you in the next video. Have a good one.